Welcome everyone, it's the Chief here from the AFL Switzerland Podcast. I'm here with the Gary Ayres, the coach of Port Melbourne Football Club. Gary, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Jace.
A question we love to always ask our guests, the first question. I'm going to change a little bit because I know who you follow. Who did you follow when you're a young man?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't actually get asked that all that often, obviously with my association at Hawthorn, but I followed the mighty St Kilda Saints.
Wow, there you go.
So they were red, white and black too, of course. Yeah. And who would have thought when I was probably 6-7 years of age and barracking for St Kilda, that if you fast forward to 1981, I would have been coached by the great Alan Jeans.
Wow.
Who was obviously the only premiership St Kilda coach in the history. So there you go. It's a small world. So St Kilda Saints.
There you go. Where did you grow up, Gary?
I actually was a country boy. So I grew up in an area called the Latrobe Valley, which is about probably 110 k's sort of east from Melbourne. My father was a local policeman, and we moved around the local area depending on where we got posted to. And I come from a family of 5, 3 sisters and a brother, and obviously my mum and dad and family probably influenced me a heck of a lot over the years.
So a footy family?
Very much so. Loved their sport. The girls played netball and my brother and I played footy, cricket, basketball. My dad in his day was actually not a bad runner. And for those people that would remember the Stall Gift,
yes,
which is an Easter, I guess, small distance run. It's a very big carnival up there. He actually made the semi-finals of what was then the 110 yards and actually got spiked by those big heavy spikes and didn't run all that well in the semi-final.
Oh no.
Didn't inherit his pace though.
Moving to AFL, you've played 269 games across 16 seasons, including 5 grand finals. Do you have a favourite moment or a most enjoyable win?
I get asked that question a lot, Jason. I generally answer it by saying they're all wonderful and fantastic moments, because one of the things that you want to do is you want to obviously become a childhood dreamer, I guess, and we still dream as we get older, but they're not as nice, I guess. And it was to play VFL football as it was then, and obviously in my case to play with Hawthorn because that was the zone that I was living in, and then it was to play one game, and I was able to do that as a 17-year-old in 1978, and then of course the next thing was obviously to play in the premiership, and I was able to achieve that in 1983. So the 5 have all got very different reasons for why I love them all so much.
Okay.
And 1983 because that was my first. 1986 because we'd been beaten by Essendon in 1984 and 85, and I was lucky enough to win my first Norm Smith medal. 1988 because we had actually had a new coach at the helm in Alan Joyce, because he replaced Alan Jeans, who had had a brain aneurysm at the end of 87, and I was lucky enough to win another Norm Smith. 89 because of the fact that we were the first Hawthorn team to win back-to-back premierships of any other side that had played.
Correct.
And then 91, I was able to achieve that with another group of guys, and I was 31 years of age. And we came up.
Fantastic effort.
Yeah, we came up against the red hot West Coast Eagles, who then won in 92 and 1994. So we probably got them at the right time because they went on and became a bit of a powerhouse of the competition.
Absolutely right. You were mentioning a couple of coaches there. Is there one particular coach that has stood out throughout your career that influenced you the most, or you believe got the most out of your footballing ability? Yeah,
definitely Alan Jeans.
Alan Jeans?
Alan came to the club in 1981. I had lost my father in a tractor accident. I was 19, he was 43, and he was a policeman, as I mentioned in the opener, and he, as in Alan Jeans, was a policeman. So I think he probably almost became a bit of a father figure to me. And also too, he gave me, which is what we all want to strive for in life, as an opportunity to play league football. And he instilled confidence in me to be able to do that at the highest level. So he was one, along with my family, that influenced me obviously greatly. And I'm indebted to them because whatever I got out of footy, I'd have to owe to them, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, understandable. Who do you think would have been your toughest opponent or on the field?
Oh, there was a lot, Jace.
Yeah.
I played against wonderful finals players like Wayne Johnson from Carlton, Terry Danaher from Essendon, Peter Dacos from Collingwood, a young bloke by the name of Graham Wright, who ended up playing the premiership side for Collingwood. He caused me a bit of grief one day. The Cracker brothers, the little Indigenous boys who played for North Melbourne. There was a guy at Carlton. Oh yeah, there was a guy at Carlton who was a wonderful player, quite versatile, half-back, half-forward, very courageous. Ken Hunter was his name, and he was a wonderful player, so strong in the air. So Robert Flower and another player who unfortunately is no longer with us anymore, a guy by the name of Trevor Barker, who played at St Kilda when he was getting towards the end of his career. He used to play a little bit forward. So yeah, a lot of great players.
Those are some definite, some big names, some great names. So after your AFL playing and coaching career, how did you end up here in Port Melbourne?
Well, it was quite interesting, to be honest. I'd had my time at AFL level by coaching Geelong and also to the Adelaide Crows. I had 10 years as a senior AFL coach. I then I got a phone call from the great Kevin Sheedy. And yep.
Wow.
And he said to me, I'm looking for an assistant coach. Would you like to come and help me and help Essendon? Love to, because you very rarely get an opportunity to work with great people. And then when Kevin got the flick from Essendon and Matthew Knights took the job, they didn't really have an opening as a coach for me. I saw this job being advertised. I was living just around the corner in Paran at the time. And I thought, I'm 46, I'm too young to be giving coaching away.
Sure.
So I contacted the club, went through the interview process, and here I am 13 years later.
It's been a great career. What's been your biggest challenge here coaching the Port Melbourne Footy Club?
The biggest challenge, I guess, is being able to educate, nurture, promote, try and have the players playing the way I want against other teams in the competition who can train 35 hours a week and we only train 7 hours a week. So that's the biggest challenge. And I must say, the group that I've had here for those 13 years, it has changed over the time, but they have been outstanding individuals, every single one of them, and they've given the Port Melbourne Football Club a wonderful opportunity to have success and have prolonged success. And we've done it in some instances under enormous circumstances, and I just admire and are awestruck by what the players do for me here at the Port Melbourne Footy Club.
Fantastic. The perfect season in 2011, would that be the highlight for you as coach here, or is there another moment or something else that has capped it off here for you?
Oh, it'd have to go close, Jace. Like, no other standalone club had won a premiership at that time, and the odds were pretty remote that a team could actually do that as a VFL standalone. And I think we achieved it. The previous team had done it some 100 years prior.
That's a long time.
It is a long, long time. But one of the things we're big on here, and it's a very big philosophy of ours, is creating our own history. So 2011, to win 21 games straight and beat all the AFL aligned clubs was enormous. But I think our premiership year of 2017 would almost rival that, but for different reasons. We were basically having to rattle the tins. The new president came on board. We'd lost 300,000 in a year, which is enormous money.
Huge, yeah. We
played one game for nothing. The coaches and support staff took a 10% pay cut. There's some of my lovely boys down there. And we ended up winning the premiership against Richmond VFL, who were a juggernaut because their AFL team was just taking all before them, and we won that. So yeah, those two would have to be unbelievably satisfying.
Yep.
But also too, again, as I said, I'm just awestruck by what the players can do for me on the back of a very amateurish sort of environment because of the fact they go to uni or they work.
Definitely understandable. Now, I know Sam's been keeping you up to date about the AFL Switzerland League and my own club, the Basel Dragons.
Yeah.
We didn't have the best time at our grand final. To put it bluntly, we were thumped. This season, a fourth club will enter our league, and we've lost a few players who we thank them kindly. They'll move to the new club, so we need to recruit, and we're trying to recruit a lot more Swiss to grow our game globally and, of course, in Switzerland. So we have to teach some of the Swiss, our fantastic game that we have. As a coach, what would you recommend, which basic skills or to just to teach them? What advice could you pass on to our coaching staff back in Basel?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the major philosophies I've had over a long period of time is being able to teach the fundamentals and the basics of our game. And obviously that's kicking, that's handballing, both hands, and also kicking both feet, and marking. So if you can master those fundamentals, it generally gives you a fairly solid base into then the next progression is to obviously teach them how our game is played. And if you can always keep referring to the fundamentals, I think it makes the education process far, far easier. And it's just one step at a time.
Yes.
And once you've mastered the kicking, then it's moving on to the handball, and then the marking, and then of course then it's about playing our great game. So always try and master the fundamentals.
There we go. So it's the fundamentals for us this season, back to basics.
Absolutely.
Gary, we like to play a game on this podcast. It's called the How Swaussie Are You? As it is the Australian game in Switzerland, so we try and bring the two cultures together. Jen, who we played this game with, she didn't do too badly.
Yep.
So we'll see, we'll compare later how many you got correct.
I was going to say, hopefully I'm up for the challenge. I wasn't that smart at school.
All right, now you'll be right. So we've got some different questions to Jen. So the first one is a Swiss one. On average, per year, how many kilograms does a Swiss eat of chocolate?
Well, actually, I must thank you for the chocolate too. That
You're very welcome.
Yep, it was beautiful, and of course, you must know my weakness because I do love chocolate. So, if it's actually what I would eat over a year, I might want to go on that. I think, bloody hell, I'd probably say maybe 4 kilos.
It's about between 10 and 12.
Oh
we
my God!
Eat a lot of chocolate.
Geez, I can be getting a bit fat on that. Man.
Okay, here's an easier question. Number 2, who kicked the most goals in VFL AFL history?
Who kicked the most goals in VFL AFL history? Tony Lockett.
Perfect. How was our geography class for you at school?
No, not good.
Okay.
No. I think I failed year 11.
There's 2 colours in the Swiss flag. Do you know what those colours are?
2 colours of the Swiss flag. White.
Yes.
Red.
Perfect, there you go, it's past geography class now. Okay, another easy one. Which state in Australia is referred to as the Sunshine State?
Queensland.
There you go. Now this is a
You're
tough
trying
one.
to fool me, I reckon.
Now it gets a little bit harder because it's a Swiss one. How many members of the Swiss Parliament make up the Federal Council, also known as the Magic Formula? So how many presidents do we have in Switzerland?
There is. How many? Not 50?
No, a little less. We have 7.
7?
7
Oh,
presidents.
my lucky number 7. I should have
there
said
you
that.
There you go. We'll get you over. You can be one of them. Which club won 4 premierships in a row in 1927, 28, 29 and 30 in the old VFL?
Won 4 premierships. Collingwood?
Perfect. There you go. Do you follow soccer much at all?
Not
No?
really.
Okay.
I find it's too low scoring for what I want. But I do enjoy the celebrations when they do score. But I can understand when they do score.
Yeah, because so few and
It's
far
such a
between,
highlight,
isn't it?
that's right.
Absolutely. Okay. Which city in Switzerland is the FIFA headquarters located?
Zurich?
Perfect. Well done. You can go for Swiss citizenship soon. What do Australians traditionally eat at the footy, usually made by 4 and 20?
Yeah, that'd have to be a 4 and 20 pie, and also 2 with sauce.
Yes, got to be with sauce,
you've
doesn't
got
it?
to have the sauce, that's right, and making sure it's not too hot because you never want to burn the roof of your mouth.
I hate when that happens, you're absolutely right.
Me too. You get
Good advice. Very good advice. Here's a tough one. How many cantons make up Switzerland? So a canton is a state for us.
Oh, jeez. How many? 30?
Close. 26.
Oh, jeez.
And they're tiny. You'd fit one into
really?
the
The size of the ground?
Yeah,
Gee
they're
whiz,
very
they
small.
are tiny.
Lucky last. Which Australian animal will you find on the Australian 20-cent coin?
20-cent coin. I would say kangaroo, but was there a platypus?
There you go, platypus, perfect. Gary, you've been very generous for your time. I thank you kindly for coming on the podcast with us.
Appreciate it, mate, and good luck
Thank you.
All right, with your recruiting, and also too for hopefully us and you, we can have very similar seasons and be quite successful.
Definitely.
So good luck.
We wish you a lot of success
Thank you very
for the
much.
season as well. We'll be watching on from afar
Thank
as we
you.
did last year.
Appreciate you staying down too, and hope Santa was very kind to you.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks very much, Sam.